Hello students, welcome to the class. Introduction. Radio advertising is still a crucial source of information around the world, especially in the developing countries that have high regards for the radio as a source of entertainment, as much as other wider audience for their goods and services. Therefore, radios have been a perfect communication avenue where the corporate ventures have consequently utilized it to create awareness for their services and products. Radio provides a flexible medium to reach local markets that might be given too little advertising weight as part of a national media schedule. Radio can also reach non-users of other media. It is a primary medium for teenagers, older people and smaller ethno-linguistic groups. Without radio, potential customers within these audience segments would be missed. When TV came upon the scene in the early 1950s in the West and in the 80s in India, it took away large chunks of the radio audience and the advertisers. But soon radio managers realized that they could successfully adapt to a changing marketplace and media scenario. Objectives. Strengths of radio advertising, limitations of radio advertising, advertising technique. Radio advertising denotes the utility of paid commercials on air in the bid to promote events, products or services. That said, the platform utilizes a concept similar to that of the television but lacks visual impressions. Radio advertising deploys sound, music and words. Nonetheless, it is imperative to acknowledge that the growth of the platform has been somewhat sluggish, especially in the recent years, where other advertising media like internet, mobile and television among others seem to be the giant player in the market. Nonetheless, the contemplation is not an insinuation that one should overlook the vitality of radios in advertising. Many people have a close rapport with a radio personality to whom they listen faithfully. Radio also brings a wide range of sound effects to involve the listener's imagination in the script. The growth of the total advertising market in India has been remarkable. Radio ownership in India has came down. The advent of FM radio and community radio stations have led to a renewed interest in radio, and the ownership is likely to increase soon. Strengths of radio advertising. The number of radio stations, formats and audience segments create a bewildering list of options for the media planner and the advertiser. Radio provides the advertiser with the opportunity to attract a very narrow or specific audience. Each station develops programming to attract different types of audiences, and the advertisers can select the station that best matches the profile of their prime prospectus. Radio, like cable, is becoming a medium of narrowcasting because of the intense competition, especially from television. Cost of radio rates is the lowest of all media. However, the cost of a radio spot cannot be compared to a magazine ad that can be read and reread at the convenience of the reader. With media other than radio, advertisers are often faced with dilemma of either reaching a wide audience less frequently or a smaller audience with more frequency. Radio, however, buys more frequency for the rupee without sacrificing reach, making it a well-rounded media performer for advertisers. For the advertisers, the efficacy of radio lies in the following areas: targeting of specific audiences. Radio offers demographically segmented audiences, maximum target penetration, and minimum wastage. Cost efficiency. By cutting out target audience wastage, delivery costs are very low. Frequency. Often, the most important part of any media plan. More than any other medium, radio has the ability to build higher frequency of exposure to reinforce and drive home your message. Flexibility. You can change your radio plan on a virtually day-to-day basis to match the consumer response. Listener loyalty. Unless television, where people serve the channels constantly, consumers listen to a repertoire of only 2 to 3 radio stations and they stay with each one for long periods. High advertising recall. Tracking research shows brand recall in radio advertising is exceptionally high. In addition, the creative execution does not divert attention from the brand name. Low production costs. Radio commercials cost a fraction of their television counterparts. For the cost of producing an average television commercial, you can have enough radio airtime for a complete campaign. Promotion. No other medium comes close to radio's promotional capacity, from on-air competition and giveaways to live outside broadcasts from your business location. Synergy with other media. Radio is the most effective means of reaching light users of the media or extending the frequency of a high-cost press, magazine or television campaign. Day-long cover. People listen to radio at home, in the car, at work and while at leisure. You can reach your audience throughout the day and evening to build awareness and generate response. Testimonials. Notably, one cannot afford to ignore the vitality of testimonials in creating a positive brand image for the advertiser. That said, the platform is also an ideal way of communicating a business presence to the audience. The unique aspect of the particular form of promotion is that it deploys an individual whose task is to give a real account of how the business in question improves the lives of the consumers. The vitality of such an approach to building a positive brand image is irrefutable. Some of the aspects that make it interesting include the fact that it is real, believable and relatable to real life experience. The concept of trusting other human beings is coded into the human brain and thus influence their decision making. Selective targeting. An advert aired through the radio reaches the target audience easily. Such is because radio stations are already targeted to particular market segments and demographics. That said, the local brands will stand to benefit from the fact that the audience of the utilized radio station is local. In other words, the local station is attractive for individuals who seek to remain updated on local events such as personalities, events and news. The fact that the stations comprehend their target audience, unlike other media such as newspapers, enables them to facilitate the advertisers to modify and localize their contexts. Thus, an advertiser can lock into his or her potential customers by selecting the most suitable radio station to deploy for the commercial endeavor. Besides, they can also achieve the goal by increasing the frequency of the ad. In other words, since the radio stations operate with a given market segment in consideration, the advertiser can then target specific people, genders or ages. Increased frequency. As earlier mentioned, advertising functions through frequencies. The emotions instilled by radio is intimate. The listeners get to develop a positive relationship with their preferred radio stations, while at the same time nurturing typical bonds with the presenters. A vast audience listens to the radio when including other activities such as cooking, traveling, working and going to sleep. On the other hand, other visual forms of media such as TV and newspapers do not allow for multitasking. As a result, radio create a sense of intimacy with their favorite stations, consequently nurturing an environment of trust. Thus, when an ad is aired in the station, it creates more impact than the alternative forms of advertisement by persuading the audience to procure the commodity. Time efficiency. Some of the drawbacks that render other forms of advertising inferior to the radio is time wastage. Accordingly, the lead durations with television and print ads can be indeed prolonged, more specifically due to factors such as planning. As a result, the compilation and preparation of the advertisement may even take a year before it is ready for presentation. On the contrary, the production of a radio spot may take place between 14 and 21 days. Cost efficiency. The form of advertising comes in handy in mitigating expenditure on promotional initiative. That said, radio advertising calls for lesser costs as compared to other platforms like TV. Besides, print advertising can hike to as high as hundreds of thousands, whereas radios require small investments. Both TV and print advertising call for massive investment for diverse aspects such as models, actors, studio time, as well as video and photographing equipment, among others. Radio ads only call for a single voice or two, hence alleviating the excessive production costs. In fact, most of the stations provide free production to their advertisers and further reaches the same intended audience. The overall implication is message communication and less expenditure. Limitations of radio advertising. Despite these strengths, radio commercials suffer from certain limitations as well. Since radio is an oral medium, it cannot be used for showing styles or portraying new models. Trademark or package cannot be shown to a shopper so that she can quickly identify the product on the shelf. It is also difficult to use radio for direct response, a growing advertisement segment in other media. Taking down a phone number or address while driving is not conducive to high response rate. The lack of viral element obviously makes radio unacceptable for some advertisers. However, over the years, advertisers have developed creative techniques that overcome many of the disadvantages of this missing visual appeal. The need for creating a word picture which the listener can see has inspired some of the most imaginative and ingenious writing for the radio. The absence of visuals. It is beyond reasonable doubts that the human mind depicts a better remembrance for what it sees as compared to what is heard. Lacks permanence. The form of advertising is associated with temporal state. In other words, one cannot keep the advert for future reference as compared to other alternatives such as magazines and websites. The reader can tear off an exciting part of the former or even save links and images of adverts when using the later. Such materials can be observed later, hence creating a sense of permanence. On the contrary, the radio is live, and once an event or an ad has been read out, it cannot be redone. In other words, the listener has to remember it or even wait for the next time that the ad reappears. Such is a significant blow since radio advertising is thus outdone by TV advertising in this particular aspect. Lack of affordability. This statement does not seek to criticize the previously mentioned aspect that radio advertising is not costly. However, it is imperative to look at the matter with an inner eye in the bid to observe even the tiniest details. That said, one cannot afford to ignore the fact that radio advertising is not affordable over a short period. As such, the cost effectiveness comes in when one seeks to utilize the platform over a long duration. As such, any marketeer who advertises only once on the radio may not make any extra profit. Again, the number of acquired clients may even not equate to the cost incurred in creating the ad. That said, one cannot afford to ignore the fact that it is the combined implications of the competition faced from the online platform in conjunction with the implication of the economic depression that account for the primary driving forces that have undermined the performance of the medium. Future of radio advertising. The general contention is that radio advertising is here to stay and is not going away. As such, radio advertising as a critical component of marketing goods and services and should be placed in the mix for those seeking to promote their commodities. Nonetheless, the vitality of radio advertising may be unclear. As such, if the results are a depiction of the wider society's perspective on radio advertising, then it is indeed beyond reasonable doubts that it is undervalued. Types of radio commercials. Good radio commercials involve the listener befriend and empathize and talk to listeners personally and persuasively. Such radio commercials inform, entertain and are remembered. Simplicity. The key in radio is to build around one central idea. Avoid confusing the listener with too many copy points. Use known words, short phrases, simple sentence structure. Keep in mind that the copy needs to be conversational. Clarity. Keep the train of thought to one straight attack. Avoid side issues. Use the active voice in simple sentences. Avoid adverbs, cliches, and ambiguous phrases. Delete unnecessary words. Coherence. Be certain that your sales message flows in logical sequence from first word to last, using a smooth transitional words and phrases for easier listening. Rapport. Remember, as far as your listeners are concerned, you are speaking only to them. Try to use a warm, personal tone, as if you are talking to one or two people. Make frequent use of the word you. Address the listeners in terms they would use themselves. Pleasantness. It is not necessary to entertain simply for the sake of it, but there is no point in being dull. Strike a happy medium, talk as one friend to another about the product or service. Believability. Every product has its good points. Tell the truth about them. Avoid overstatements and obvious exaggerations. They are quickly spotted and defeat the whole purpose of the commercial. Be straightforward. Convey the feeling of being a trusted friend. Interest. Nothing makes listeners indifferent faster than being a boring commercial. Products and services are not fascinating in themselves. It is the way that you look at them that makes them interesting. Try to give your customer some useful information as a reward for listening. Distinctiveness. Sound different from other commercials and set your product apart from others. Use every technique, a fresh approach, a musical phrase, a particular voice quality or sound effect to give your commercial its own character. Compulsion. Inject your commercial with a feeling of urgency. The first few seconds are crucial. This is when you capture or lose the listener's attention. Direct every word towards moving the prospect close to wanting the product. During the last 10 seconds, repeat your promise of benefit. Register the name of your product and don't forget to urge the listener to act without delay. It is surprising how many commercials don't do this. Spots and sponsored programs. Commercials on radio can be broadly classified under two types: spots and sponsored programs. It combines announcement of exact time as well as broadcast of the commercial message. Spots. Spots are radio commercials mixing both slogans and jingles. These are pithy messages of varying duration, normally of 10 seconds to 30 seconds in length. It is not uncommon to have a spot of 60 seconds duration. Several commercial radio spots made an indelible impression on the listening public. Woodward's Gripe Water is an example of imaginative use of radio voices depicting voices of women of different age groups to emphasize that the product has been in use for generations.
क्या हुआ? बच्ची रो रही थी, वुडवर्ड्स दे दे। वही तो मैं तुम्हें देती थी जब तुम छोटी थी।
वुडवर्ड्स बच्चों के नाजुक पेट के लिए यही ठीक ग्राइप वाटर है।
दिया कि नहीं?
Woodward's Gripe Water.
Spots such as Mummy Mummy Modern Bread and Horlicks Jyada Shakti Deta Hai had tremendous impact. Time check. Time check is also a type of a spot. It is in the form of a slogan or jingle, normally of 7-second duration and voiced by the announcer on duty. The jingle ad. The jingle ad utilizes music or jingles to pass the message. In line with the argument, it is imperative to acknowledge that there lays a strong connection between music and memory. Therefore, one of the most suitable ways to create a unique ad is to come up with a memorable jingle to accompany it. A properly produced jingle introduces a sense of professionalism into the brand while at the same time fostering its recognition by the audience. As a result, the jingle continually runs in the heads of the audience and they recall the commercial. Indeed, it is irrefutable that memory has a positive correlation to music, where the audience always finds itself humming to a given jingle randomly. That said, when used creatively, jingle ads are among the most successful ways that a brand can communicate its presence to the audience. Jingles are spots in musical format. At times, along with music and songs, some slogans are also intermixed. Nirma started its advertising campaign with a popular radio jingle, making the brand one of the most successful marketing cases.
Washing powder Nirma, washing powder Nirma, दूध सी सफेदी Nirma से आए, रंगीन कपड़ा भी खिल खिल जाए, Nirma ने बांधा सामान, washing powder Nirma.
The song or jingle offers two advantages. It is pleasant and easily remembered. As a musical sound, it is the advertiser's unique property which sets the commercial apart from every other ad on radio. Generally, an announcer is used in this flexible technique, which may be structured in countless ways. Most common is the jingle at the beginning of the commercial, followed by announcer copy. The commercial is concluded by a repeat of the entire jingle or a part of it which is complete in itself. Sponsored programs. A program the cost of which is paid for by an advertiser is known as sponsored program. The program is conceived and produced by the advertiser or an outside producer engaged for the purpose. Credits lines of brands are given before and after the program. Sometimes an advertiser may be content to sponsor an in-house program if they are not prepared to incur production expenses. In either case, the sponsor is entitled to free commercial time, FCT. The quantum of FCT allowed depends on the duration of the program, and in the case of a sponsored program, the sponsor concerned gets a large quantum of FCT. The sponsor utilizes this commercial time to promote their product or services. A credit line mentioning the name of the sponsor is also broadcast before and after the program. A sponsored program is an ideal vehicle for promotion of brands, as these programs generate goodwill for the company and help in boosting its corporate image. Creating effective commercials. On the surface, it would appear that the writing of radio commercials would be the easiest of all advertising to create. In reality, one has to work very hard to create a good radio advertisement. You have 60, 30 or 10 seconds in which you have to sell out without pictures. Your tools consist of voices, sounds and music to develop a meaningful message that will make listeners want to break their daily routine and lean in to your message. That is quite a challenge. Paradoxically, radio is actually a very visual medium. Radio's advertising creativity works through stimulating listeners' theatre of the mind. Radio allows listeners to play an active role by creating their own vivid pictures to accompany the message. Cleverly crafted and executed, radio commercials attain high recall levels. There are no concrete rules for creating effective radio commercials. The following guidelines may, however, be kept in mind. Underwrite. If your script is meant to be 45 seconds in length, prune it down so you can read it comfortably in 35 seconds or so. This will give your listeners the time to get involved, to use their imagination and create their own mental pictures. Be relevant. Work to make sure your script is directly related to the product or service. If there is no relevance, there is no gain. Advertising techniques. Basically a medium of words, radio more than any other medium relies heavily on the art of writing a strong copy. Radio copywriters can choose among many proven techniques to give more meaning to the copy, help gain the attention of the busy target audience and hold that attention for the duration of the commercial. Some of the techniques used are straight announcer. In this commonly used and most direct of all techniques, an announcer or personality delivers the entire script. Success depends both on the copy, on the warmth and believability of the person performing the commercial. Two announcers. In this format, two announcers alternate sentences or groups of sentences of the copy. The commercial moves at a fast pace and generate excitement. Announcer anchor. If the writer includes an actor or actress's voice reacting to or supplementing the message delivered by the announcer, it reinforces the message. Slice of life. Write dialogues that reenact a true to life scene involving the listener in a problem that the product or service can help solve. Testimonial ads. A celebrity is used to endorse product to increase the memorability of the commercial. Care should be taken to ensure that the celebrity does not overshadow the brand communication. Common man endorsement can also be effective. Customer interview. The announcer may not talk with professional talent, but with actual consumers who relate their favorable experience with the product or service. As a variation, the satisfied customer may deliver the entire commercial. Humor. Tastefully handed, humor may be an ingredient in almost any technique. A slice of life scene can have humorous overtones, and even a straight announcer copy may be written in a humorous vein. Humor is often appropriate for low-priced package products, products people buy for fun. Summary. Radio has successfully adapted to a changing market on media scenario all over the world. Radio is a cost-efficient medium. taking into account its reach, tariff, and advertising options available to the advertisers. Some techniques for devising compelling commercials have been discussed for using radio, image.